Hello, Swedish Vallhund breeders. My name's Rebecca, as you know me from the group, and today I'm going to do a walkthrough of our website and test breeding for you. As you know, this is our front page. Here, if you scroll down, you can see the 10 most recently uploaded dogs. I also wanted to direct you guys to, we've changed our drop-down menu a little bit here. You can access your breed comparisons, which will compare your breed and give you up-to-date stats on your breed here. Or you can go down this list and find your breed page, which is at the very bottom here. Breed pages are nice because you can see the 10 most or recently uploaded dogs plus all the public dogs in the database. But I wanted to show you the breed comparisons, particularly this inbreeding comparison. So the nice thing about the inbreeding comparison charts is that you can kind of get a feel for other breeds. And if you go down here, you can see where you guys are down here. These are something called your average alleles per locus and your effective alleles. So this is how many, if you've read the biodiversity example that Natalie has shared, she talks about how, let's say you have different colored t-shirts, red, greens, and yellows. A breed that is not well distributed would have a whole lot of red shirts and like one yellow and one green. So, and that would be in this other metric here is called the effective alleles, which basically these are how many variants are actually contributing to your breed. So here you can see only 2.59 variants of alleles that we've been finding are actually effectively contributing to your breed, while you have almost 4.91. So we want to make this number, the effective alleles per locus, rise. And the way that we do that is by increasing the breed average OI or decreasing your breed average AGR. So we're going to discuss how to do that, but I thought I would show you this. So it's really interesting to see how other breeds are. So for example, in standard poodles, we are only using 3.65 of the genetic diversity that we have in our breed. So that's what we call having a bottleneck. So you're using about half of what you have. So we encourage breeders to try to increase this number to improve the breed health of your breed and maintain the variety that you have. I also looked at your breed statistics to see if there have been any new DLA haplotypes found, and there have not been. And the amount of frequency of the DLA haplotypes are about what they were at when your breed report was released. So I'm going to search for one of the females that was offered up. I forget how you spell Vanaheim, so I'm going to just search Vanna. This will pull up all the dogs that have the name Vanna in the database. So here, I can see it here. I think it was Vanaheim, you sexy thing. So that's down here. So I'm going to click on her, and we're going to talk about what we can learn about her from her profile. And then we're going to find the male that was offered. The other female that was offered fantasy Tootsie Roll was the offspring of the male that was offered. So we can talk about that in the genetic relationships. And I can also go over the female's information and how she might compare to the male at the end of this video. Okay, so here's all the information. If the breeder had uploaded a photo, it would be here, and it's free to do that, so please upload the photos. It's far more interesting when people are looking for studs or looking at bitches that might complement their stud if there's a photo to help them know what your dog looks like. Okay, so this is the genetic data. It's free to get this analysis of your dog, so upload your dogs to our database. 2007, 1006, I believe, is the most common or one of the most common DLA haplotypes in the Swedish Vallhund breed. There are not very many DLA haplotypes in this breed, so I would work hard to make sure that they are well distributed. But it's good for her that she has two different haplotypes here. There have been findings in other species that having two different DLA haplotypes helps with successful reproduction. And in Italian greyhounds, it was found to reduce the likelihood of autoimmune disease. Now that there's not a tried and true answer for how to use DLA, but just make sure that if you all else is equal in a breeding, to try to breed for heterozygous, but this is the last thing we say to consider. Okay, so now we have outlier index. As this number lowers, the genetics that a dog carries are very well represented in the breed. So this dog is what we would say she is typical. That does not mean that she is bad or good. It just means that she has genetics that are very well represented in this breed. And the breed average, though, is 0.37. So since the breed average is so high, it's generally easy to find a dog that would have a higher OI to help raise this outlier index in the next generation. Now, if you remember in the example I showed earlier when I went to the breed comparisons, as the OI drops, that will also be dropping the effective alleles per locus. So that's why we recommend trying to breed at or above breed average outlier index, and that will help preserve the remaining diversity that your breed has. Okay, so here at average genetic relatedness, you'll see that she is slightly more related to the population than is typical for the population, meaning that there will be less dogs that are unrelated to her. That's what this number is. The higher this number is, the more related this dog is to other dogs in the database. So you'll find down here she'll be slightly less unrelated than is typical for the breed. Down here, she's unrelated to 47.87. Now, when I say unrelated, I mean unrelated within your population. So if you threw in a German Shepherd into the Swedish Vallhund population, all the dogs in your population would seem related because the German Shepherd would be so unrelated to your breed. So it's unrelated as possible within your breed. Excuse me. Okay, so you can see here, the next metric that we look at is IR. This is the inbreeding estimate that is given from the frequencies that we have in your breed, and it's an estimation of how inbred the dog is. So here you can see that she's at 0.15. That means she is fairly inbred. 0.15 is the cutoff point that Dr. Peterson says you're kind of getting to really high levels of inbreeding. However, it is very easy to drop that number by breeding to an unrelated dog in the next generation. So we will see how this happens, how easily we can drop it, depending on whether the stud that we are going to look at is unrelated or not. And just as a spoiler, I already checked and he is unrelated, so we'll see how our puppies might fall. This number here, HL, is another inbreeding estimate, and you can see here she is estimated to be also more inbred than breed average. Okay, so let's go up to the breeding tools. This gives you the list of all the dogs in the database that are public that she could possibly be bred to. You will see there's a colorful bar at the top of the potential breedings. Category 10, I'll show you here. Category 10 is unrelated, all the way down to category 1, which would be an identical twin. So you can see who's the closest related in this population, and you can see that other Vannaheims are closely related, which should not be a surprise. Although looking at their outlier indexes, it looks like they fell above breed average for their outlier index. Okay, so going to category 10, the boy that was offered to me to use is Hideaway, Mr. McDreamy. You can see here he is very atypical for this breed. The breed average was 0.39. He is 0.5, so that means that he will most definitely raise the OI of the bitch that we are looking at. He is outbred, or average. This is the average genetic relatedness. So he is very unrelated. So the breed average was negative 0.01. He is less related to the rest of the breed, which doesn't surprise me given his OI is greater than breed average, because OI and AGR are inversely related to one another, and they both help mitigate bottlenecks and preserve genetic diversity within a breed. And you can see here he's also outbred. Okay, so our summary is done. You can also go to this analysis page here, and that will give you a lot more details about the litter, but I really like to go to the summaries because it gives you a really great visual of where you can expect puppies to fall in a breeding. So we're going to go over to this breed summary, and we'll see how these puppies look. All right, so first things we look at over here, I'm going to look at the internal relatedness. Now remember, the bitch was really highly inbred. So did we breed away from that high inbreeding value of 0.15 with this test breeding? And we did. So here Well, I always tell people, no matter what category you're in, you do want to check the inbreeding values, because sometimes we get surprises, even though in our categories it says that they're unrelated. When we look at the predicted inbreeding values, we get some really high values. So, but here, this is a really great breeding in terms of IR, because if you kind of observe how many of the puppies would fall under this high area, the 0.15, and it is very little. And in most breeds, this is really uncommon that you can get so few that go to that high value. So even though it goes all the way up to 0.32, it's very little amount of the litter would actually go to it. So this would be an outbred litter. Let's go over and look at the outlier index. Now remember, you want to breed at or above your breed average outlier index, which was 0.39. The reason for this is what you're working to preserve your genetic diversity and breed away from bottlenecks. So, we got our results, and then that's the starting point. That's the starting point of preserving your breed for the future. We can't make up for any losses that we've had in the past, but we can preserve what we have and improve our health for the future if there are health issues. So here, this is also a great breeding because it improves on the bitch's outlier index, and it's also above the breed average outlier index. Now, of course, you're going to have a minimum of 0.23, but that's not very far below where the bitch is starting. But you get up to all the way to a 0.68 potential. And so you can see that there is a good amount of the litter that would fall even above the predicted average. So this is also a great breeding in terms of what it would do for mitigating a bottleneck or preventing one from happening and preserving the genetic diversity that you still have in the Swedish Vallhund. All right, so the very last thing that we're going to look at is the DLA. And we say this is the last thing to consider, but you want to try to produce heterozygous puppies if you can. And since both the sire and the dam have different DLA haplotypes, this would also be a good breeding in terms of that. So I would say overall, if this breeding also hits all the other points that you would want in your breeding, nice phenotype, good temperaments, everything that the bitch's owner wants in her future puppies, this is a good genetic match. So we always say you have to consider your pedigree, your structure, everything that you've always considered before, you still have to consider. But on paper, this looks like a nice breeding. All right, so let's go to Mr. McDreamy's profile and discuss him a little bit. We already went over him a bit, but I would like to show you guys his genetic relationships. So one powerful thing about our tools that you may not know about is you can look at your dog compared to every other dog in the database. So right here under the name is the genetic relationships. And this includes your spayed and neutered dogs as long as they remain active, but you make them fixed or no longer intact, they will still remain in the genetic relationships. And the power of that is for breeding towards or away from genetic influence. So here you can see here's the other bitch I was offered, Fantasy's Tootsie Roll. So this is his daughter. I don't know who this is, if it's daughter or not. I could probably check. But say in the category 2, his dam was tested and she lived to 120, which we know can't happen, but she lived a long time. She was super healthy. Nothing ever happened. She didn't even have sore hips until the day she dropped dead, or she died in her sleep, and it was a very peaceful and long-lived life. You would want to breed towards that influence in your puppies. So you would keep her in the genetic relationships, and when you're testing a litter, you can check to see which puppies are closer related to that long-lived dam. Now, if we want to go to the other side, say that there was an unhealthy uncle from a litter and you had tested all your puppies and that uncle had some severe health issue when he was young, and you want to breed away from that genetic influence. When you test puppies, you can find the puppies that are further out, so less related to that uncle who had a health issue. So these are powerful tools that you can use that you may not have thought about how to do it or how to use it. So yeah, and this will show you every single dog. So even once that you mark a dog as not being intact, you can keep them in the population for this use of breeding away from health issues. All right, well, I hope that you guys enjoyed my test breeding that I made for you. I would love it if you want to ask questions. I'm happy to help. We are always happy to help breeders who are conscientious and want to maintain their breed for the future. All right, thanks for watching.